Hello, it's Salimek. In today's video, we will be filtering radiator coolant with using one of these inline fuel filters like this to clean all the debris we can see in the radiator reservoir. So whatever we see in the radiator reservoir means we have the same thing in the coolant system and circling around. Either the coolant completely bad and eating the hoses, or they put coolant leaking powder. So the first thing we need to check is coolant freezing point with this tester. If it doesn't have any antifreeze in it, why we filter it? And the second thing we need to check is the pH level by voltmeter. If it's acidic, we have to flush the coolant and not filter it. But if it's at the right pH level, then we filter it without draining. So if the pH level and the antifreeze percentage correct, then we should do this procedure. For doing any work on the engine, especially radiator works, make sure the engine cold to touch before opening radiator cap, because when it's hot and at the idling temperature, it will be pressurized. Alright, let's grab our antifreeze tester. You just have to put it in a reservoir so it suctions the right amount of coolant. Now we're gonna take it out and bend this hose so it doesn't leak. Make sure you hold it vertically till this arrow aligns with this line. Now we can read it, it's at -10. So now we know our coolant has antifreeze in it. Now we're gonna put it back. Now we're gonna use voltmeter to measure the voltage between the coolant and the ground. It should be less than 0.05 volts. We just have to put the negative in the reservoir and the positive lid somewhere on the engine. It reads 0.02, it means we are good to go. If it's more than 0.05, it means it's acidic and we have to flush the whole system. So our coolant has right amount of antifreeze in it and it holds us till -10 and it's not acidic, so why not filter it and save some money. One thing you should know about these filters, they are not designed to be used for coolant or high temperature, but we're gonna use it for 15 minutes. I have used it before for 2 days on the car, but you don't have to do this. So we're just gonna use it for 15 minutes. I'm gonna mark the arrow so you can see the direction of the flow. We're just gonna need a hose like this with 2 clamps. The return hose of the reservoir will be connected here and the other end will be connected on the reservoir. We just have to remove this hose and connect it in between them. So let me explain you about 2 types of the reservoirs. Here we have the overflow tank and here we have the expansion tank. With the overflow tank, we have the high pressure cap on the radiator and not on the overflow tank. You will be able to see this kind of system on the old cars. And this cap here on the reservoir is not fully sealing this reservoir because we don't have any pressure here, but it's all in the radiator. So when the engine heats up, it will expand the coolant and create a pressure, and then it will push this valve and send some of the coolant to the overflow tank. And when you turn the engine off, the coolant will drop in temperature and it will create a vacuum here and suction some of the coolant from the reservoir. But with the expansion tank, we don't have any high pressure cap on the radiator. It's on the reservoir. And we have this line here which comes from the engine and it's always circulating the radiator coolant. So this kind of system we will be working on and we can install the filter here. So if you have this kind of system, we cannot use this kind of filter on this because we don't have any coolant circulation here. So now we understand what kind of system we have and where to install the filter. Now we are all done. We're gonna put the clamps back and we are done here. Alright, the filter on radiator return line, when we turn the engine off, it will circulate the coolant and filter all the debris. Now we can put the cap back on the reservoir and start the engine and leave it for 15 minutes. You will only see this kind of flow with the expansion tank and not with the overflow tank. Even if you rev it up, we can see the flow changes. Alright, it's been after 15 minutes with the filter on the radiator reservoir return line. Now we're gonna turn it off and let it cool down. It's been after 3 hours, the engine completely cooled down. Now it's safe to open the radiator reservoir cap. Next we're gonna remove the inline filter and put the return line hose back. If we look at the radiator reservoir again, we can see all these debris being filtered out. And here's the before and after pictures, we can see a big difference. Now we're gonna put the cap back and we are done here. I always like to use my X-Acto knife and cut the filter open so I can see what kind of debris it filtered out. And we can see it filtered all these particles that we saw in the reservoir before. So if you did these 2 tests on the radiator coolant and if it fails on one test, you have to change the radiator coolant. I have a detailed video how I completely flush and change the radiator coolant. I will make sure to put the links in the video description box below what I used in this video. Hope you guys found the video useful and learned something new. If it was, like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.